Hello again everyone, and welcome to another tutorial in how to draw gods and goddesses of ancient Egypt. Before we start, of course, if you could subscribe, that would be fabulous, thank you very much. And also, don't forget to, oops, come on, that's it, ring that little bell icon. Okay, well, the god I'm drawing today is Osiris, one of the most important gods. He's the god of the afterlife. He actually judged the souls of the dead. Also the judge, or rather the god of fertility, new life. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to start by drawing his profile. I'm putting a couple of marks here. I'm going to start with his forehead, just at this wee mark here, and you kind of slide down in a little curve like that, a gentle curve, come back in, that's his top lip, that's his nose, top lip, and then you draw a kind of shape like that for his top lip, and then one for his bottom lip, and then one for his chin coming up like that, okay? And then just below that, you would draw the typical Egyptian eye that you see in all of these, the tomb paintings, which curves up like that. There's a bit sticking out of the back, like that. And another curve, like that. And you have the pupil in the center, and of course the eyebrow curving, more or less following the same kind of shape, like that, okay? And a small nostril, like that. Okay, now, what I'm going to do now is the beard, the false beard. It's actually a symbol of status, the pharaoh status as a living god, and it's called a postiche, P-O-S-T-I-C-H-E. So it just kind of juts out from the bottom of the chin like that, and not too long, curves back in itself like that, and it's also kind of crisscross as if it's bound and linen, something like that, okay? Now above that, we have a very high hat, and it's like a crown, okay? Only what it's shaped like, it's shaped a bit like an old bottle or something, you know. It's got a very long curve starting from there. Actually, you get a line coming across, almost like a helmet. Imagine the line of the helmet coming in like that, and coming down the side of his ear, and then going up over his ear, like that. There's the ear shape in there, and then back to the front again, and it's an angle like that. As I say, it's like an old bottle, so it comes up, and a long curve like that up to the neck, and then the other side, curving down like that, and then you see the bottom of it appearing in there. Now it stops in a straight line like that, and then you've got what looks like a stopper on the top, okay, like that. It's a symbol again of the pharaonic authority. And on either side you have ostrich feathers, a plume of ostrich feathers, and they represent truth and justice. So you get the plume of ostrich feather coming in like that, and a curve, and then like that, another side, the same kind of thing, coming up there, and a curve, and going down like that. There are details in there, but I'll put them in later. Okay, so now you have the neck. Now, as I say, he's usually depicted as a mummy, actually. So he'll be clothed in white, green skin to suggest fertility, and he's sitting on the pharaoh's throne. And he'll be holding the crook, which is a symbol of kingship, and the flail, which is a symbol of fertility of the land. But I'll put those in a second. But first of all, he'll have the great necklet, but you have his shoulders coming out on either side like that, just beyond, fairly broad actually, you know, out to about there, say, like that, see, fairly broad on both sides, and we'll get the necklet coming in, which is like a broad shape like that, it comes in, and it's got kind of concentric rings on it, which come in like that, and I'll be drawing those in properly, but I'm just kind of indicating them just now. You see those slight concentric rings that appear like that, okay? Now, as I said, he's holding the crook and the flail, so one hand, arm rather, comes down at an angle like that, another one kind of juts out too, so you get the two elbows jutting out like that, you see? And one comes back in, another one comes back in like that, and in the depictions of the Pharaoh Osiris like this, they don't seem to do a line for the arms. It's all kind of filled in, almost like as if they're filled in by the binding of the mummy. So you get one hand coming in like this, and you get the grip of his fist there. And in his fist, as I said, is one of the first things, you get these wristbands, for instance, there. In his grip, he's got the flail, or I beg your pardon, the crook in this side, which comes up at an angle, and it kind of comes from his, so I'm just roughly putting it in just now, comes up past his beard, like that, and then it curves back, and a big sort of curve like that. So that's the rough shape of the crook there, and it comes down beyond there, of course, and stops about there. And his other fist comes in about here, because he's going to be holding the flail in the other hand, which crosses over there and goes up about that angle. So you get that, see that crossing shape there? And his other fist comes in, so you get these two lines coming in, and the thumb will go behind that, like there, because it's in the grip of his wrist, his fist there. His other fist appears like that, with the knuckles appearing like that, and then his wristband there. So you see the shape, where he's crossing over those two shapes. And out of the bottom here, you'll get the flail crossing over the crook, and then it goes up like that. And the flail is symbolic. They use it for threshing the corn, of course, but that top of the flail comes over like that, and then broadens out like that into three shapes like that. I'm just doing it very roughly just now to show you. So that's the rough shape of the flail. You see that? And we come down from that point just about where his wristband is there, and his waist appears just about here, and he's got a kind of strapping around his waist there, which comes in. There's also the ties of that come down, and as I said, he's seated, so from this side you come down towards his hips, and then the curve there as he's sitting down, and his leg is on it. You only can see one leg, basically, you know. The other one, there's the curve at the top of his thigh to his knee. See that shape there? Then it comes straight down, like that. There's a curve out to his ankle, curve to the top of his foot, and like that. And he's sitting in a very simplified chair shape. It's meant to be the throne, but it's very simplified. So you get one line coming like that, one line coming across like that, where it's sitting on, and then the back of the chair juts out a bit. And you've got that there. So a very, very simple shape. Now I'm going to be going over that more detail in a minute. I've just kind of put it in at the moment to show you roughly how it goes. And then there's a kind of cushion or whatever over the back, which curves down there. So there's the shape of Osiris, as I said, depicted as a mummy and a pharaoh sitting on his throne holding the crook and the flail, symbols of kingship. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just go over these shapes that I've drawn in roughly, just to sharpen them up, and I'll do that in a second. Okay, as you can see, I've actually outlined all my sketchy lines. I've done it with a pen, actually, with a fine tip pen, 0.8 I think. And so I said there was he had a waistband on, but he also has ties hanging down from the front here. And so they come down like that. The first one, narrower at the top, and coming a bit broader there like that. And the second one kind of hangs down like that. Now all of these shapes are decorated, like the waistband, like the necklace and so on, and also the ostrich plumes. For instance, what they decorated is quite simple. They just repeat these lines coming up here, so you get that kind of line coming up and curving around like that, and then another one doing that, and then another one doing that. Okay, so you get that kind of pattern there. And on here, what you have stripes coming up here in different colors, and you have banding appearing there, like that, for another couple there. And on here you have long shapes in color, and then you have kind of chevron shapes, which I'll put in the color in a second. Okay, along the bottom here, the actual chair is highly decorated, and what you can do is take your pencil again and draw lots of parallel lines fairly close together, very rough, very light, like that. And what you have on these lines are scallop shapes. So you would draw those kind of scallop shapes there along the top, like that. And then the next row of scallop shapes would start at the middle of the previous row. So you get that kind of shape there, like scales, you know? And so on, and you carry on right down to the bottom here, out of this period here. So when you want to get into the colouring, and I'll outline that in a second, when you want to move to the colouring, what you can do is clean it up. I've got a putty rubber here, and basically what you do is just go over all your pen lines with your rubber to clean it, so you don't drag any pencil lines into your colour. I'm going to use felt pens to colour it. Okay, so once I do that, I'll draw these scales in, and we can get started with the colour. Okay, we're ready to colour, and I said I'm going to use these pens, and 5 simple colours. I've got orange, yellow, blue, green and red. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to use the green for the face and the hands, because these symbolise the fertility. Okay, so I'm going to use a kind of brush tip, just gently in between my pencil lines, my pen lines rather, like that. Just fill it in, gently touch in these colours, like that. And the neck, but the body and the crown will be left white. The body is left white because it symbolises the mummy wrappings. Okay, so just the hands and the head that are green for the body. But we do have green elsewhere. We have green in the ostrich feathers. We have a few bits of green in the chevrons of the flail, and also in some of the scales here. So I'm going to continue with those, okay? The central part of the ostrich feathers are green, so that gets touched in like that, okay? There. And also, when we start up here, they have alternative, or alternating, I should say, colours. We have blue, red and green, blue, red and green. So it's blue, red, green, blue, red, green, and so on. So this third line here will be green, and so on. And I'll continue that right down to the bottom. Okay, that's the green done. The next colour I'm going to use is a yellow. And yellow will come to the left of the green in the ostrich plume, like that. Okay, in there. Also, the crook is yellow. It has stripes on it, but it's yellow to begin with. In fact, so does the flail. So these two shafts, if you like, are yellow. And we have a yellow banding there, and there we have other colours down here. Okay, and the chair itself is yellow, so we'll carry on with that. Okay, I'll see you when I've finished it. Yellow done, the orange is next, and beside the yellow here we have a band of orange. Came up like that. And the necklet is orange there. Then we have a white one, then we have an orange one, like that. Then we have a white one and a blue one and a red one. So we do that just now. And then we move on to the wrist cuffs. The edges are orange. Okay. The waistband is orange, like that. Right, that too. It comes down there, like that. And the central part here. Now you can put a pattern in there if you like, but we'll leave it blank for just now. That fills in there. Right, okay, so the next colour we're going to use is blue. This blue colour here, okay? And on the outside I'll have this blue coming up, like that, and then carrying on around the outside there, like that, okay? And that will do just in there. And as I said, we have a blue one here. Add another blue one just below there, like that. Okay, now we also have some blue chevrons on the flail. So we have blue going across there, but we also have a couple of blue lines starting there, like that. Then blue dots, and then we have blue chevron here, like that, and another one there, like that, and then we have another one up there, like that. Okay, so remember I told you about the blue, red, green? So this top line here will be blue, like that, right across. Red, green, blue, and so on. Okay, so I'll do that. And the next colour, red, which we'll use to fill in this space here. Oops, that's the wrong point. The smaller point, I think, better in there. And there. Okay, and the stripes on the crook, like that, fairly thick banding all the way down. I'll continue with that in a minute. And also on here we have red stripes radiating out like that on the yellow parts. At that also we have a red band coming in here between the blue bands. Okay. Like that. And up here we have banding also on the flail. So that goes all the way up to the top here, right around the corner. And then below those blue dots we have red, long red dots like that. And then below the blue chevrons we have red chevrons, like that. And then we have a long red dot, like that. Okay. I noticed I haven't done blue on the banding because this is blue and this is blue. Okay, but back to the red, we have this row of scallops being red, of course, so just below the blue. So we carefully fill in those shapes like that, right across, and right down to the bottom, of course. Okay, I'm just finishing up with the red now. As you can see, I put a couple of yellow bands in here and also finished the stripes and put some stripes on here. And I'm just finishing off with the stripes on the waistband. So those stripes here are quite long, but these are of course short, and they come just one stroke of your pen like that all the way down to the bottom. And the end is a kind of dark blue colour, so I'll get my blue and I'll fill in the bottom quickly just now, like that. That'll give it a very kind of dark ending to the trailing ends there. Now, just to finish off, the idea of the ostrich feathers, the lines and the feathers, you could use your pen, your red pen, and just go over the lines you've already coloured in, just curve them like that. Give a sense of the, like that. Okay, all the way up. But keep it a nice curve. And that gives a nice quality to it. Excellent. Well, that's it. And that's Osiris, very important god of the afterlife in Egyptian mythology. I hope you enjoyed that tutorial, and I hope you can join me again for another one very soon. But in the meantime, of course, all the best and happy drawing. Wait a moment. I forgot that the actual name of Osiris in hieroglyphics is actually very simple. I'll draw it down here very quickly for you. We have a straight line like that, like a reverse L shape, and then we have a thin top and a step out down to the bottom, and then out like that. Very simple. And the other shape is just an eye shape, the Egyptian eye shape, like that. And that comes out like that, and you get the pupil appearing like that. So that's the simple shape of the Osiris name in hieroglyphics. Okay, well that's it. Hope to see you soon.